Hey, welcome to the Digital Insurance Agent Podcast. So glad you've chosen to join me today. And with me is Kimsey Hollifield. And Kimsey, glad to have you with me today.
Glad to be here.
Hey, so we're going to talk today about your journey. You have moved through the insurance industry into the financial services world and really found your passion working in the investment advisory world. But we want to get in today to really understanding, getting clear on what your passion is and some of the building blocks along the way, how one step builds on to the next step, and that every step, is a key component to your success. And so, first of all, thanks for joining me, and let's kind of back up to your story, how you got started in the industry, and take us through that journey.
Sure, yeah. So, I grew up in Western North Carolina, and growing up, didn't really know what I wanted to do with my life until I figured out pretty early on, until I figured out there actually was a job to help people with their money. I was little at the time. I would actually take the deposits for my grandmother and walk from her alteration shop down to Wachovia, which is Wells Fargo now. And you can't do this now, but I was, pretty young, and I have this big cash, like all the cash of the day. And I would just walk down the sidewalk, and I would go into the little ladies at the bank, and I would make the deposit, and I would just kind of talk to them and stuff. And I began to realize that you could actually have money that would actually grow and make money. Like it was like a completely new concept to me. And then I realized that there was a job where you could get paid to help people with their money. I didn't know what that meant at the time. In my mind, though, I just knew that we were not like a wealthy family. Like, we were, we were not like well off. I just, in my mind, I thought if my job could be helping people with their money, I would probably have money. I would probably be okay. That was like my, thought process as a kid. And I enjoyed it, and so from a really young age, I like enjoyed, looking at stocks and, looking at the market. And I know that makes me sound a little bit like a dork, but I mean, it was just kind of interesting to me, and so I got into this business from the insurance side. First, in Medicare plans, life insurance, annuities, and you can kind of see where Medicare, life insurance, annuities, investment advisor, licenses and education, and then you just gravitate to whatever side you like. And so most all of our business now is through our investment advisory firm, and I enjoy it. I really really enjoy it.
Perfect. So let's back up. You were telling me your story earlier of how you got started in the insurance side of things, and so I kind of want to walk through that, and then we'll pull out some
Okay.
things for our audience that I think will be helpful. So tell a little bit of that story. You're a young guy.
Yeah.
You were presented with an opportunity, and so talk a little bit about that.
Well, the opportunity was, I met my wife when I was when our first job was Chick-fil-A, and we were friends for a few years, and then we started dating, and she's just wonderful. And I just knew that this was the person that I wanted to spend the rest of my life with. I didn't have really a life plan for how that was going to work out, and didn't really have a career or anything like that. I was in college, and at our wedding, through the receiving line, where you go through and people say congratulations, congratulations. A friend of mine, my best friend, his dad, who I knew was in the insurance business, ran an insurance agency, very successful. He said, "Hey, congratulations, but hey, I have a job for you." And I was like, "Oh, cool." So we talked afterwards, and the job was to sit in a pharmacy in just outside Winston-Salem, south of Winston-Salem, North Carolina, and enroll people in prescription drug plans. And I could make, $4,000 or $5,000 a month, or what, I forget what he said. But I thought, man, this is great. I'm going to do this for the enrollment period, save up a little bit of money. I mean, I had no clue on anything past that. But once you get in there, I started making some money, and then he said, "Hey, I'll pay for you to go to new agent school." And okay, cool. I did that, and then you start to when you work really really hard at something in this situation, because I had no real option. I had to work really hard, and I had you had to we had to make it. You get good at something, and then when you get good at something, you start to enjoy it. And so I got to where I went from the bottom of the rung as far as the production, and this was like a boiler room situation. Everybody was in the office together, and if you sold really good, really well, or if you didn't, like everybody knew. And so I went from the bottom, and I just busted my butt and started doing better. And then when I was 23, I had gotten promoted a few times. I opened an office in Charleston, where we live now, for the company that we were with. And then at 25, I left and started what would become Holifield Financial Group, which is the company I own now. And it became an investment advisory firm, and we're a fiduciary firm, and about half of our business is still fixed products like annuities and different things like that, and then about half of our business every year is investment advisory and managed money, what they call it. So
Okay,
that's sort of my brief
good.
abridged version.
So as you were, working, the Medicare side of things, obviously you're exposed to different types of people. You're exposed to, different processes. You start to figure out, there's a more to the industry than just, what you're working with.
Yeah.
And you start to figure out your sweet spot. So for you, how'd you start to figure out, I kind of want to move more in this direction? Like, how did you figure out this is my ideal, you know, type of clientele that I think I want to work with? This is really the types of services I think I want to work with. Um,
Yeah.
how did you figure out, what that course was? Because in the world of financial services, there's so many places you can go. My background, I was a Series 7, 65, 63 advisor. So there, it's like Pandora's box. Which direction you want to
Yeah.
go? You want to be the stockbroker? You want to be the, which hat do you want to wear today?
Yeah.
So how did you decide, what was going to be your sweet spot, your specialization?
That's a that's a good question. I like the way you worded it too, because well, you worded it initially. How did you determine what you were good at, or you're going to be good at? I was not good at this, to start, So initially it was they told me I had to see 7 people a day and pitch 3, and I would sell 1. I couldn't do that, because if I saw 7 people and pitched 3, I probably wasn't going to sell anything. So my initial experience was I need to see 12, 13 people every day. Every day. I need to pitch like 8 times, and maybe somebody would buy something from me, a Medicare product or a life insurance, so that I could pay the bills. But then you I think people know in their heart what they really want, what they're really interested in. And a lot of times people will lie to themselves, because you have to do sometimes what you have to do to go down the road of life. And so you take those things that you really want to do, that you're really interested in, and you just sort of push it down the road. So for me, that was, as a child, just this image of somebody who was, the movies and the TV shows of these people in big cities and driving, nice cars and going to restaurants, and being, like a money manager, or an investment advisor. And it was never about, like, in another world, I could have gone to where I'm at now without going through the insurance industry. But that was the way that was my path. So I always wanted to be here. It wasn't about, you know, the licensing or the products. It was really about, helping people who have money and who have investments, um, grow those investments and do it right. More about that process and becoming that person who could do that, as opposed to like how it was, licensed, or what the end, product that we did was.
Good. I like something you said there. You had to become the person who was able to help people do that.
Yeah,
And I think that's something that sometimes we miss. There is a development process that comes along with that. And I appreciated something you said. You realized your own level of skill early on, that for you to sell one, you were going to have to see 12, not seven. Um,
yeah,
and I think sometimes, as producers, whether we're advisors, whether we're agents, doesn't matter which hat we wear, we have to be honest about where we're at. Sometimes we're going to
yeah,
have to see more people to produce those numbers. But you
yeah,
bring up something also that I think is critical, and let's talk about that. And it's, how do you develop those skills to where you're working smarter, not harder? One of the things that we're always talking to our clients about on the marketing side of things is, sometimes you don't have to spend as much money on your marketing if you'll get better at your sales process, if you'll get better at your
exactly. Yeah,
follow-up process, if you'll
yeah,
answer the phone better, if you'll, you know,
exactly. Yeah.
simple things like that. So let's talk about that. What are some of the things you've done over the years to get better so that it's not taking you 12 to 1?
Yeah. No, I like that.
Even in today, as an advisor, I'm sure you're not batting a 12 to 1 average. You're probably have
Oh yeah,
improved your skill sets quite a bit.
yeah. So first of all, I would say when I do meetings with people, uh, probably 80% of the people that we meet with, that we recommend something to, we'll do business. So it's a lot more efficient. But you know what? I love this topic, and I could talk all day about this topic here. Just whether it's a self-improvement or from a sales aspect, though. A couple of just real tips. I used to go to these conferences when I was very young, and I would see somebody doing whatever it was that I wanted to do, and I would just think, oh, I would leave with 25 different things that I needed to fix about myself, like in my process, in my business. And you can't do all that. You know what I mean? So now when I go to places, and I try to learn, and I still do all the time. I read books, books, most of these books here, and all the book I'm constantly trying to learn. But you have to try to find a few things. You know, if you go to a conference and you learn from someone, you need like three things that you need to implement now. And if you get too much, you can't do it, and they're all going to go out the window. But another thing I would say is, the confidence, and confidence can come from a couple of different things. It can certainly come from knowledge, and being able to talk about different subjects, and having the right answers. But also, you're not going to have all the right answers. You're not going to have the answers on. And there are times where a client will ask me something and say, I don't know. I'll find out, but I don't know that. And so I think in our business, whether you're selling a, a retirement account or a house or an insurance policy or whatever, a car, people are buying your confidence in it and buying your confidence in your recommendation. And there's a lot that goes into that. There could be ways that you phrase things. There could be wording. But I would say that's probably the biggest thing. Biggest thing is being able to have that confidence.
Good. So let's talk a little bit about, pre-qualification, making sure you're in front of the right people. Is that one of the things that you began to learn as you've grown in your processes, that you make sure that you're not just talking to anybody, but you're talking to the right people. And what are some things you do now to make sure you're in front of the right people?
Yeah, well, right now, a lot of our success comes from seminars and group events. And the reason is, forget if it's a dinner seminar or if it's a college education course or, a webinar, there's a lot of different ways now that you can do that. But it's that one to many um, uh, leverage where if I'm talking to someone and it's top of funnel, right? Like it's not like me and you on our second or third meeting, are we gonna, but I'm gonna talk to people about a topic, whatever it is. I don't want to just talk to one person. If I can talk to multiple people, then that's much better. And so we go through a process even at our seminar. Like we do dinner seminars, a pretty good amount of dinner seminars. And the things that I talk about, first of all, we qualify them before they get in. Our staff calls them and makes sure that they're the right type of people. Um, and but then as I'm going through my speech or my talk, whatever it is, I'm trying to throw things in there that actually disqualifies people. If this is, and it's about being authentic. This is what I believe. This is what we want to do for clients. If this is not for you, do me a favor. Don't set an appointment just because you feel bad about saying no. Like that's okay. If you want to set an appointment, I'll do everything I can to help you. But if we're not a good fit, that's totally fine. And so I think as I've gotten older, and gotten more confident and successful in this business, I think that I've just pushing the people away that you don't think you're a good fit, and only really helping people, because that's what it's about. It's about helping people, and it's about being authentic. Because if you get up and you talk to people in a seminar or a group environment and you're someone else, and then they meet you one on one and you're yourself, and it's totally different. They have to buy you because you can't be, you can't trick them forever. You have to be who you are. Like I pray at the end of my seminars, the ones that we do for dinner. And I don't do that for any other reason, but just personally,
Yeah.
right? And I had an advisor come to me recently, and he said, "Well, I tried to pray at the seminar, but I did it like this, and the response from the room was kind of off, and I don't know if I'm gonna do it." And I said, "Well, why did you do that?" And he said, "Well, because you do it." And I'm like, "Well, I don't do. Listen, I'm not telling you that if you pray before the meal at your seminar, at the end of the seminar, you're gonna have better success or worse success. I
Hmm.
don't know. That's not why I do it. So first of all, if you're going to do that, you do it because that's you, right? And if you don't want to do it, don't do it. Like, because you have to be, you have to be who you are.
That's right.
And I think that's important.
Wow, that's great. And you kind of delved into where I wanted to go next, and that is, a being confident in who you are, but the other piece of that is knowing who you really resonate with and knowing your audience and not being afraid to tell people you're not a fit. This isn't the right relationship. And I think a mistake a lot of people make is not being able to say no and not being able to turn away business because it's not the right business. And so, how did you really determine? I call it, in marketing terms, your avatar. Who's your ideal client? How did you develop that profile of who it is you specifically wanted to work with? You kind of named it off,
Yeah.
at the beginning. There's kind of a profile type person that you like to work with. How did you
Yeah.
figure out who those people were?
Yeah. So we, we did what everybody does at the start, where we just work with anybody who will work with us, and, and then we looked, and we just, once we had a bit of a client base, we said, all right, well, what's our average client? What do they look like? Of the clients, who who do we like to talk to the most? Who is the person that is never really maybe as happy? And you just sort of think, well, I'm really, really good with people who are 55, 60, who have a few, a couple 100,000 up to 1.5 million. I'm really good with that, and the people, outside that range, I just don't do very well. And so we took our client base and sort of looked back and said, well, and you can also see that where the people who don't do business with you, well, look, if I have a single lady who is divorced, or maybe husband has passed away, I can help them. My ratio for bringing them on as a client really high. Someone who is, a $5 million client, I don't know. I mean, I just I don't do as well, with those people for whatever reason. Um, and same with somebody who doesn't really have a lot of assets. It's just I think you have to figure out, based on what you've done, you know, who you really do well with, and you'll be able to see. Part of it's not lying to yourself too. Everybody wants to say, yeah, I work with these type of people, or the no, you probably don't. I mean, we all work with who we're good with, and the closer that you can get that, whether you're selling Medicare or houses or investment accounts, the better it is, because then you can segment your client base, and you can segment it and say, here are A clients, here are B, here are C. How do we get more A? Well, a lot of times you just figure out what the heck the A's like to do, and you just say, come and hang out with me, and we're going to play pickleball, or we're going to do this, or we're going to do that, and bring your friends, and then you meet other people like them. And so I think that's kind of the process that we've gone through the past couple of years. That's really helped a lot.
Excellent. And just kind of along those lines, what are the things that you kind of have done to specialize yourself? And here's kind of where I'm going with that question. One of the challenges in the industry is a lot of people offer similar services,
Mhm.
and part of the real key for us is we have to distinguish ourselves. What makes me unique? What's my unique selling proposition? What is it that I specialize in that nobody else does? What's that focal point that I have? How did you decide what your specialization is, what I'm going to call it is,
Okay.
that you offer to your clients that's maybe unique to them that nobody else really seems to have?
Yeah. So the first thing I'd say is, if you think about a doctor, who makes more money, the specialist, the heart surgeon, or the general practitioner? It is
Mhm.
going to be the specialist, and so specializing and knowing your niche is so important. But one of the things that I went through a little while back is, I went through a process of sort of reflecting, with just exactly what you're talking about here. So I wrote down some different things, and I asked clients, friends, family to give me answers on these. And I said, what would be my adjectives? What are the 3 or 4 words that you would describe me? And they gave me, I looked at the list. Okay, well, and I asked my clients, why do you like working with me? Why are we working together? And different things like that. And what you get is, you figure out that people think of you as, these different adjectives. For me, it came a lot that it was, I cared about people. Family came up a lot. Ambitious, tenacious, that's determined, and intelligent or smart, came up some. But for you or for someone else, it might be like, if you ask my wife, it would probably, or we talked about her, it'd be maybe like charismatic, and funny, and outgoing. And so I think you do that, and be really honest. And if you go to people, if I had this as an advice, go to your friends, people that know you and clients and say, give me those adjectives. Then you can figure out, oh, okay, well, people like to work with me because, because they think I'm intelligent, because they think I'm honest and my family and this and that. And then you can say, well, okay, well, when I'm approaching people in my business, I'm going to do that, right? I'm going to let those parts of my personality out, and make sure, that I sort of hone in on that. And I'm not going to try to be these other things that maybe I think I should be. I'm going to try to be, who I am. And I think it's a really cool exercise for pretty much anybody to do, especially anybody in sales. I think it's great.
Perfect. Well, as we kind of wind down here, any final thoughts you have for somebody out here? They're building their agency or they're building their practice. Things you would say to them, just in the trenches. They're out there, day by day. What are maybe your top three success tips that you have that you would want to leave them with?
Oh, the trenches are tough sometimes. Stay even kill, because there's going to be great days and there's going to be days where the worst day ever, but just stay even kill, right? Do your best to try to stay consistent. The second thing I would say, if you have the choice, I always go for passive income over income that I have to get out and I have to work for tomorrow or the next day. So passive income like renewals and residuals are always so important, because don't kid yourself, you're going to have a slump, and when that passive income can take care of you, that's good. And then the last thing is just small incremental improvements in anything compounded daily over time will lead you to massive success. It doesn't happen all at once, but just little bits compounded is huge. Those are my three things.
Excellent. And Kimsey, if somebody wants to learn more about you, where can they connect with you? Where can they learn more about your business?
Yeah, so holifieldfinancial.com is our website. Certainly you can email me, Kimsey at holifieldfinancial.com. We're on YouTube. We have some new projects we're coming out. We're starting a sales system and platform. But right now it's the agency website, and then Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn. My name is super unique, so I can just use my name for anything. I don't have to come up with any sort of different usernames.
Excellent. Well, it's been great interviewing you today, and thank you for joining us. And to our audience, glad to have you here on the podcast, and look forward to having you again on our next episode.
Look forward to it.